Well, welcome, New Song. Hopefully you have been able to see that we have a single focus today, and that's on healing. One word, it's about healing. And I really believe that I could come up every single Sunday and we could focus on this topic, because I don't think there's a single Sunday that goes by that we don't have many, if not most of us, who are in need of healing every single week. So we're in the Names of God series. And I should have a few slides up here to look at as we go along. I should have the scriptures up here for you. I don't have an outline for you today as purpose. I really want you not writing today. Look at the scriptures. Just capture the Spirit moving today in regards to healing. We're looking at Jehovah Rapha. The next slide is in the Names of God. We're looking at Jehovah Rapha. We've been looking at the various names of God. The purpose of learning the names of God, as there are over 80 names in the Bible that describe God, He has different names. And the purpose is not simply so that we can become proficient in Hebrew or Greek, or just simply to know the historical definition behind these names, but these are the characteristic traits of God that will empower our lives. And we've looked at things like Yahweh, the ever-present God. He is in the past, He's in the present, He's in the future. We looked at Elohim. We know the fact that He is the one who created us. We have a sense of beginning. We have a genesis. We have a start. And we know where we came from, and we know where we're going. We looked at El Elyon, the God Most High, and is to be revered and to be bowed down and to be worshipped. And we've looked at Jehovah Rapha. We've looked at El Shaddai. And that is God, our all-sufficient God. And so, again, today, Jehovah Rapha. Jehovah Rapha, the Lord who heals. And I'm going to be looking at it, Exodus chapter 15, verses 22 through 26, for our text today. But do you remember that Bible passage that I asked you all to memorize out of Proverbs 18 and verse 10? The name of the Lord is... Go ahead and... I want me to start over again. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it, and they are safe. I thought maybe Russell had that passage up because it's the next one. There you go. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. You know, the name of the Lord. And all these various names are God's description of who He is. And He is our healer. He is the Lord who heals. And every single one of us stands in need of healing. This is a sin-sick world that we live in. And it isn't all the things that come to you in the way of hurt and in the need that you have for healing. It doesn't always come from your own personal sin. It comes from the fact that we live in a world that's messed up by sin. But there's also our own mess-ups and other diseases that come into our lives that we need to know Jehovah Rapha. Now, in Exodus chapter 15, the text I want to look at this morning, you got to have a little bit of background here. You guys all watch, Charlton Heston, right? So you know the Ten Commandments. You know how they left the land of Egypt. You know how they came, through the wilderness wanderings. You know how miraculously and powerfully that God worked miracles and brought them out of that land of slavery. And they hadn't been out free for very long. They had sung this wonderful song, Miriam, the song of Moses, and they're just partying, and it wasn't too much later after that, in chapter 15, they begin complaining and grumbling. Now, before we're too harsh on them, have you and I ever done that? I mean, here we do. We come off a high where God has just worked mightily in our lives, and how long is it again before something that comes into our life that we're not happy about, and we start grumbling and griping and complaining. And I used to be so hard on the Israelites until I realized I do the same thing. And so they find themselves out into the wilderness and they're getting a little thirsty. And so, verse 22, chapter 15. Moses led Israel from the Red Sea. You remember that? Charlton Heston parted the Red Sea. They went across on dry ground. Moses did. For 3 days they traveled in the desert without finding any water. When they came to Marah, they couldn't drink the water because it was bitter. That's what Marah means. It's bitter. So the people grumbled against Moses, saying, what are we going to drink? Well, I got a little parenthesis in there, by the way. Moses, welcome to leadership. Welcome to leadership, you know. It's always easier to grumble, isn't it? And so they begin to grumble. What are we going to drink, Moses? Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. Now I want you all to remember this piece of wood. God doesn't do anything without a reason. I always wonder, why did he give him a piece of wood? Takes a piece of wood, throws it into the water, and the water became sweet. Remember that piece of wood. Must have been some fancy chemical reaction that happened there. Threw that wood in there, and all the water is good to drink. There the Lord made a decree and a law for them, and there he tested them. He said, if you listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God, and you do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring on you the diseases I brought on the Egyptians. For I am the Lord who heals you. What it says there in the Hebrew is, I am Jehovah Rapha. I am the Lord who heals you. Never forget this, Israel. Never forget this new song. Our God is the God who heals us. Again, we live in a sin-cursed world, and every single solitary bit of humanity is in the need of healing. Mark chapter 2 is on the next slide. It takes us now into the New Testament where Jesus is sitting with some people who are definitely in need of healing. Physical healing, emotional healing, but most of all spiritual healing. But there was a group of righteous people, self-righteous people, who felt like, we're fine. There's nothing wrong with us. As a matter of fact, they came against Jesus in his message as Jehovah Rapha, as the great physician. And Jesus said to them, you know, it's not healthy people who need a doctor, but it's sick people. And I've come to heal sick people. If you feel like you're fine and dandy, then you don't need me. The trouble is they were some of the sickest people. What a great lesson in and of itself for every one of us. As we look, are we in denial of needing healing? We can't use the great physician if we think that we're all right.